Right now on Morning News Now, stepping down, FBI Director Christopher Wray announcing he'll leave when the new Trump administration begins. Wray's announcement following scathing criticism by President-elect Trump.
I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down. This is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray.
This as Mr. Trump's pick to replace Wray and embattled Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth worked to win enough Senate votes for confirmation. Plus another controversial cabinet pick for the president-elect. We have team coverage. Also this morning, mounting evidence against a suspected murderer. Investigators now linking fingerprints found at the scene where health insurance executive Brian Thompson was killed to the gun that was found on the 26-year-old suspect. We'll bring you the latest on the investigation. And Malibu burning, developing this morning. Crews gaining ground against a wind-whipped wildfire that burned down million-dollar homes. While back east, a strong storm system soaking several states. We're tracking the conditions, plus where you might see some snow today. And New Year's nutrition, a panel that advises the government is out with new guidelines for healthier eating. We'll go through some of the do's and don'ts just in time for your New Year's resolution. I'm sure we'll think of 10 more ways to talk about eating healthy in the new year.
It's hard to think about that now with all the holiday sweets in front of us over the next few weeks.
I don't want to know the guidelines until January 2nd.
Tell me December 27th, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for starting your day with us. We're going to begin with that major shakeup at the FBI. Bureau Director Christopher Wray announcing he will resign before President-elect Trump takes office.
Wray was selected by Mr. Trump in 2017, but he's leaving before his 10-year term is up after Trump made it clear he wanted Wray out, picking loyalist Kash Patel to run the agency instead.
And in my view, this is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing the values and principles that are so important in how we do our work.
Mr. Trump has attacked the FBI and Justice Department for what he says have been partisan investigations and prosecutions against him. He recently criticized Wray personally for the director's role in the FBI's investigation into classified documents found at his Florida Mar-a-Lago estate. Beyond the DOJ, the president-elect continues to fill out his second administration with some controversial picks. He named former news anchor Kari Lake, who just lost a Senate race in Arizona, as the next director of the government-run media network Voice of America. We have team coverage of the Trump transition. In just a few minutes, we'll discuss those new appointments with NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. But let's begin with NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And so, Ken, this announcement means Christopher Wray, much like James Comey, will not serve out that full 10-year term. But the position of FBI director, it's not supposed to be like a cabinet post where each president gets to pick who runs the Bureau. Wray said he's doing this, in essence, to protect the Bureau's reputation and integrity. How does stepping aside do that? Walk us through his decision here.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. Well, that's a debatable proposition. I'll tell you what the thinking was among Chris Wray and his team, according to my reporting, which is that, look, he had a stark choice in front of him. He could have forced Donald Trump to fire him in January when Donald Trump took office, or he could have bowed out the way he did and agreed to resign. And he thought that by agreeing to resign, he would spare the Bureau the trauma of a firing and perhaps spare them some more heated criticism, even though, as you point out, Donald Trump has already criticized Chris Wray, but much more heated criticism that might have come from a presidential firing. You know, just a couple of days ago, Senator Charles Grassley wrote a letter excoriating Wray and the Bureau and making all kinds of baseless charges, and they really wanted to avoid a similar kind of episode with Donald Trump. Whether that was the right move, historians will decide. There was certainly an argument to be made that this is such a norm-shattering event that Wray should have forced the president to fire him, to underscore the fact that this is the second FBI director now that Donald Trump has forced out short of his 10-year term, guys.
Ken, what's the reaction been like from the rank and file at the FBI?
There's a lot of concern. Look, Wray was a popular FBI director. He tried to, sort of sail the ship through the choppy waters of the past 7 or 8 years as the FBI was buffeted by criticism. There's certainly concern about the potential for Kash Patel as the FBI director.
Yeah, let's talk about Kash Patel. That is who the president-elect has already chosen to replace Wray. We know he has been a fierce critic of the Bureau, saying he would shut down the Hoover building. He's been meeting with senators recently. Is he meeting much resistance from Republicans at this point?
Not a lot, but it's hard to know exactly how senators are going to come down in the end. By the way, we believe, we have reporting that he's walked back his vow to shut down the Hoover building, although the Hoover building is crumbling and the FBI would love to move out of there. But look, Republican senators don't appear to be opposing Patel on the grounds that he's made some extraordinary statements about, for example, going after journalists or using the FBI to punish Donald Trump's enemies, or the fact that he has a list of 60 deep state figures in his book who are mainstream Washington figures who he says are sort of enemies. That's not the reason they're going to oppose him. There are deep concerns about the fact that he really lacks the qualifications of any previous FBI director. This is the premier law enforcement agency. But, there's so many other controversial Donald Trump nominees that it becomes a numbers game in the end. It remains to be seen whether a handful of Republicans are going to stop all of them, guys.
All right, Ken Delaney, appreciate your reporting. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, President-elect Trump is running out his picks for his second administration.
As we mentioned last night, he said he wants his ally, former Arizona news anchor and former Senate candidate Kari Lake, to serve as the next director of the government-run international media network, Voice of America. In a post on Truth Social, Mr. Trump said Lake would, quote, ensure that the American values of freedom and liberty are broadcast around the world fairly and accurately, unlike the lies spread by the fake news media.
For more, let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa. Ali, good to have you with us. So we just mentioned some of her background, news anchor. She ran 2 unsuccessful campaigns here. But what does her appointment potentially mean for Voice of America? What is its role around the world?
Yeah, guys, good morning. Well, as you mentioned, Voice of America is funded and run by the government. It has around 1,000 employees and a budget of over $350 million a year. It also broadcasts in 49 languages and reaches over 350 million people per week, according to its website. So this is a huge job with a lot of responsibility. And this pick particularly is getting a lot of attention because of some of the past positions and opinions that Kari Lake has had and adopted in recent years. Remember, she has positioned herself in recent years as a strong ally of President-elect Trump. She's also become a very fierce critic of the industry she had a decades-long career in, and she's adopted conspiracy theories, specifically around election integrity and political interference, even using her denial of President Biden's victory in 2020 to fuel her failed 2022 gubernatorial campaign that, of course, as you mentioned, she lost and even tried to overturn the results for. So remember, this position also requires Senate confirmation, so it's very likely she's going to be questioned about some of those past positions and opinions when this does go to the confirmation process, guys.
Ali, the president-elect also announced several other names for roles in his administration, including a few of his major longtime donors. Talk about who they are.
Yeah, there was a flurry of announcements by President-elect Trump last night, and among them were these picks of several of his former donors to ambassadorships. One of them, Daniel Newland, who Trump says boasts a nearly 30-year career in law enforcement and as well as an injury law practice, to be ambassador to Colombia. He picked Peter Lamelas, a Cuban-American physician and businessman, as ambassador to Argentina. And he picked Leandro Rizzuto, a former Conair executive and consul to Bermuda, for an ambassadorship to the Organization of American States, guys.
Ali, before we let you go, we do want to ask you about this breaking news. President Biden granting clemency to more than 1,000 people, the largest single-day act of clemency by a sitting president. What are the details?
Yeah, we've been expecting this to happen. The White House has been previewing it, but we didn't know exactly when it would actually happen. But the White House this morning is announcing that the president will commute sentences of almost 1,500 offenders and the pardonings of 39 others, marking the biggest number of commutations and pardons up until this point. And the White House says all of these offenders are, quote, nonviolent and have been placed on home confinement for at least a year, adding that they had shown, quote, successful rehabilitation and a strong commitment to making their communities safer. And the White House says that we should expect more of this to happen before the president leaves office in just 39 days, guys.
Ali, thank you very much.
Investigators revealed new evidence in the case against 26-year-old Luigi Mangione, who has been charged with the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Police say fingerprints found near the scene where Thompson was fatally shot match those on the gun found on Mangione when he was arrested, linking him to other key pieces of evidence.
We were able to match that gun to the 3 shell casings that we found in Midtown. We were also able at our crime lab to match the person of interest's fingerprints with fingerprints that we found on both the water bottle and the Kind bar near the scene of the homicide.
In addition to the prints and a 3-page manifesto found on Mangione's person at the time of his arrest, sources familiar with the investigation say Mangione also had a notebook that contains even more incriminating evidence. Mangione has been denied bail and is resisting extradition attempts to get him from Pennsylvania to New York to face trial.
NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro joins us now from Huntington, Pennsylvania, with more on this. Valerie, good morning. So between the fingerprints and the notebook, we know the evidence against Mangione does appear to be mounting. What more can you tell us about what the investigation is uncovering?
Joe and Savannah, good morning. Those fingerprints certainly seem to be a key piece of evidence in this case at the time. The NYPD commissioner mentioning fingerprints found on a water bottle and a Kind bar wrapper. If you'll remember last week, the NYPD put out surveillance photos of the person of interest they were looking for in this case. Those photos were taken from a Starbucks near the scene of the shooting, the morning of the shooting, and police indicated that that's where the suspect or a person of interest had purchased a water bottle as well as Kind bars. Again, yesterday, police now announcing that Mangione's fingerprints were recovered from that water bottle and those protein bars. Police sources also saying that Mangione was found to be carrying a notebook at the time of his arrest with various writings. A quote from that notebook reading, "What do? You whack the CEO at the annual parasitic bean counter convention. It's targeted, precise, and it doesn't risk innocence." Other writings seeming to indicate that the person who is planning the shooting chose to use a gun rather than a bomb so as to not risk endangering innocent people. Joe?
Valerie, we have more information also from his digital footprint. There's this now deleted Reddit account that belonged to Mangione. It featured multiple posts about his chronic back pain. We're learning more about that. Also about his social media generally. How is all that impacting the investigation?
Savannah, that Reddit post also seemed to indicate that Mangione had some sort of back surgery earlier this year. And in speaking to those who encountered Mangione over the last several months, they also indicated that he complained about suffering from this chronic back condition, this chronic back pain. There is a prominent photo on his X account showing an X-ray image of a back. It's unclear if that is an X-ray of Mangione's back, but it does appear to show some extensive back surgery. That Reddit post, he also mentioned suffering chronically from that condition and wrote extensively about the problems that a young person could potentially face in trying to get surgery for something like that, finding a surgeon able to perform that surgery on someone so young, something that he certainly complained of.
Valerie, Mangione's attorney has remained adamant his client's going to fight extradition to New York, where he would face murder and other charges. What else are we hearing from his defense right now? And just remind us, legally in this case, what are the next steps?
Yeah, at this point, his attorney has indicated they will continue to fight that extradition. That process could take up to 30 days. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, however, has indicated that she is seeking a governor's warrant. She says she is working with authorities in New York as well as the governor here in Pennsylvania to secure that. So it'll remain to be seen whether the extradition process will play out over those full 30 days or if he could be brought to New York any sooner than that. Joe and Savannah.
Valerie Castro in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Well, on the West Coast, that destructive wildfire in Southern California has now burned more than 4,000 acres near Malibu. Firefighters are racing to contain it while thousands of residents remain under evacuation orders. As the weather starts to cooperate, some people are getting to return home to find charred debris where their homes once stood. NBC's Dana Griffin has the latest.
This morning, wild weather on both coasts. With floods in the Northeast overnight and in Malibu, California, firefighters beating back the flames of a destructive wind-driven wildfire. Water and bright pink fire retardant dropped from the skies. A super scooper plane collecting water from the ocean part of the air attack.
I got very lucky this time, and it burned everything but my house.
A number of homes now destroyed, residents returning to comb through the ruins. Thousands still under evacuation orders and warnings, including celebrities like Jane Seymour, who posted dramatic photos of the flames near her home. And screen legend Dick Van Dyke, captured on his Ring camera evacuating, along with his wife Arlene and their pets.
It was coming over the hill, you could see it. And oh my God. And we got out of here.
Van Dyke, who turns 99 tomorrow, says he was outside struggling, trying to unsnarl his fire hose when neighbors showed up.
I was trying to crawl to the car. I had exhausted myself.
Oh,
I couldn't get up. And three neighbors came and carried me out and came back and put out a little fire in the guest house and saved me.
This community fire brigade also joining the fight. Local civilians who've been trained to help protect those around them.
I lost my parents' house. A lot of my friends lost their houses.
While across the country, a storm system bringing powerful winds and heavy rain to the northeast, leaving cars stranded in a flooded tunnel in Boston. Thousands without power, and New England residents under flooding and high wind warnings overnight, as Americans across the country clean up after very different winter weather.
Our thanks to Dana Griffin for that report. Well, so far, firefighters have contained at least 7% of this. It's the Franklin fire in Malibu, and more than a dozen structures have sustained damage.
So let's get right to meteorologist Angie Lassman with more on the weather conditions for those firefighters in California. Also snow in the Great Lakes.
Yeah, she's covering it all. Angie, good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. We've got a lot of things going on. Let's start out west where, yes, things are going to get better. We're seeing some improvements already. We're seeing more of an onshore flow. That brings the winds off the water, so winds from the west. And ultimately, that helps us raise those humidity levels, so we're not talking about such dry air in place over that same region. We're also seeing lighter winds. This is even a big difference from what we were dealing with yesterday, especially yesterday morning. Those winds are going to continue to calm. This is going to help us reduce that threat as well. So things are looking up out west across parts of Southern California as far as the fire weather goes. Meanwhile, for parts of the Great Lakes, things are going to start to ramp up and conditions will continue to deteriorate. We've already got 11 million people under these winter alerts. And once again, no surprise that most of those alerts are downwind of the lakes. They do extend into portions of the eastern side of the state of Michigan as well, out towards Detroit. But otherwise, downwind of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, those are a couple of spots that we're going to see some really impressive snowfall over the next day or so. Here's how it plays out today. There's some of those heaviest snow bands setting up. And some of these could give us 2 to even up to 3 inches of snow per hour. So we're really going to start to see that piling up in a quick amount of time for locations, again, on the eastern side of those lakes. We'll still see some of that in play for tomorrow, although the bands will be a lot lighter. So not quite as impressive for our day tomorrow, but we're not completely done with the lake effect snow as we get into tomorrow. But by the time we get into the weekend, we'll see some much milder highs start to settle in. We'll even see some rain in the picture for folks there. So it's a couple of days of picking up some snowfall. And those snowfall totals, once again, impressive, especially the closer you are to Lake Erie in Ontario. Notice we've got some spots that could receive about a foot and a half, but even localized areas, isolated albeit, but localized spots could get up to 2 feet, maybe 2.5 feet. So this will be something that causes likely some difficulty when it comes to road travel once again across that region. Meanwhile, we've got some of that really chilly air spilling out of Canada and into parts of the upper Midwest. You will notice this as you step out the door in this region today, and you can see the alerts that are up because of it. We've got Duluth included in there, and for good reason. -17 is the actual temperature at this hour in Duluth, but -38 is what it feels like. We've got 23 degrees below in Minneapolis for what it feels like, a wind chill of -23 in Green Bay, 12 below for the wind chill in Chicago. So we're waking up to some very cold conditions across most of the upper Midwest. And this cold air is going to spill to the east here over the next couple of days. But as we head to the afternoon hours, not a whole lot of improvement for those afternoon temperatures. We're going to run way below normal for Chicago today, 20 degrees below normal. So your high just 17 degrees. Bundle up for sure if you're heading out this morning and you're going to be out throughout the day. 27 for the high in Columbus. The good news is if you are looking for maybe some more mild conditions or not quite as chilly air, it's going to arrive, but we just got to wait a little while. So even as far east as New York and Philadelphia over the next couple of days, we're going to see temperatures in the 30s. A big difference from what we dealt with yesterday in New York City, where we were close to 60 degrees. So a roller coaster ride when it comes to the temperatures, but look what happens by the time we wrap up the weekend and into next week. We go from the 30s on Saturday in New York City to the 50s on Monday. A similar story for Chicago. You're into the the low 40s and then mid 40s on Monday. A little improvement, but that'll help, especially considering your high today is 17 degrees there. We've got the 60s for Norfolk. We've got the upper 50s for Roanoke by the time we get started next week. So we'll see some improvements for sure. Meanwhile, out west, we're going to ramp up another system that's going to bring some heavy snow and some heavy rainfall across that region here as we get into the weekend.
I can't believe the swing here. It was so warm yesterday, freezing this morning.
I know.
I've lost track of what's normal for this time of year. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
Exactly. I mean, we shouldn't be running close to 60 degrees, definitely in New York City, but also Chicago shouldn't have a high temperature of just 17. So in the middle of those is kind of where we should be.
All right.
It should be high 30s for a place like Chicago right now.
That's good. All right. Thanks, Angie.
So much climate anxiety.
Later this hour, mystery in the sky. The Pentagon now weighing in on a series of strange drone sightings across several states. We will bring you the latest.
Up first, though, after the break, World Cup controversy. Human rights groups sounding off on the selection for the host of the 2034 Soccer World Cup. We will be right back.
Welcome back. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is back in the Middle East this morning. It's a renewed effort to secure a ceasefire in Gaza in the final weeks of the Biden administration. He's also expected to push for a smooth transition in Syria following the downfall of the country's president, Bashar al-Assad. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel takes us inside the now ransacked home of the ousted leader.
The former Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad lived in a palace on a hill high above Damascus. Now it's under control of the rebels who overthrew him. Today they gave us an exclusive tour inside.
Can understand why he wouldn't want to leave this.
Assad and his wife seem to have modern tastes. You are first greeted by the grand atrium, accented by a classic wood-paneled library. Upstairs was for the family only, the apartment where the rebels say Assad lived.
You could tell this was really the inner sanctum because everywhere here there are thick, bulletproof doors. They are extremely, extremely heavy, solid metal, electric keypads. This could have been sealed off, but in the end, it didn't do him any good.
All the security was to protect his bedroom, ransacked after he fled.
There's something curious whenever you go to someone's house. People always want to see their bathrooms, just get a sense of how they lived. Well, this was Assad's private bathroom in here with a jacuzzi tub. Can't imagine he'll be living this well in exile in Russia.
Today, the new interim government said Syria is broke. Cash flow didn't seem to be a problem for the man at the top.
His personal barber chair. So you can imagine him here, getting ready for the day.
Assad lived well as a dictator until it all ended for the man accused of being responsible for the deaths of 500,000 Syrians, all to protect his life of power and luxury.
Rebels we've spoken to here in Damascus say they want Assad to be sent back from Russia and tried here for war crimes.
All right, Richard Engel, thank you.
Let's get you more international news now. There's controversy over FIFA's decision to name Saudi Arabia as the host for the 2034 World Cup.
NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us with that and some other world headlines. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning, you guys. That's right. A decision that's been fiercely condemned by not only human rights organizations, but by trade unions as well as players' unions around the world. In a statement by 21 organizations, they said that FIFA, the governing body, knows that migrant workers will be exploited and, quote, even die without fundamental reforms in Saudi Arabia. Those workers, of course, will be building the massive infrastructure required to host the World Cup. We're talking about building and upgrading stadiums, hotels, and transport networks. The decision, however, didn't come as a surprise. Saudi Arabia was the only country to bid for 2034. Moving on now to Brazil, where the president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, will undergo a new medical procedure today. This after undergoing an unplanned surgery earlier this week for a brain bleed, according to doctors. The 79-year-old has been suffering from complications due to a fall back in October. And finally, here in the UK, it's that time of year for a very special Christmas card. This one addressed to all the future spies and code breakers out there. GCHQ, the country's electronic and cyber intelligence agency, released its annual puzzle holiday puzzle designed to excite young minds and, who knows, maybe persuade some of them to consider a career in cybersecurity. I have yet to crack the code. Guys,
I just solved it in a few seconds there, but I'm not going to tell anyone the answers because that would not be fair.
No. I love a Christmas puzzle, though, so that's great. Danielle, thank you. Coming up, he's accused of faking his own death and fleeing to Europe. Now a Wisconsin man is back on American soil and facing a judge. We'll bring you the latest from court.
Plus, New Year, Healthier You, a panel of dietitians that advises the government out now with new guidance for a nutritious New Year. What you need to know next on Morning News Now.
Welcome back. The Wisconsin father who allegedly faked his own drowning death while kayaking in August and then fled to Europe is now back on U.S. soil, facing his family and justice. The 45-year-old made his first court appearance yesterday, facing misdemeanor charges. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has the latest.
A Wisconsin father of 3 who police say faked his own death and fled to Europe is back on U.S. soil, charged with misdemeanor obstruction after turning himself into authorities who investigated his disappearance.
I have $20 in my wallet.
Ryan Borgwart appearing without an attorney, the judge entering a not guilty plea on his behalf.
I can't pay. I don't have money, so I'll defend myself.
The 45-year-old vanished in mid-August after traveling to Green Lake, about 100 miles northwest of Milwaukee. Authorities finding just a capsized kayak and his vehicle, with some personal effects nearby. Divers, cadaver dogs, and drones used to search for Borgwart in an effort that cost nearly $40,000, according to the Green Lake County Sheriff. But what appeared to be a tragedy, authorities say was actually an elaborate attempt to escape.
Good evening, it's Ryan Borgwart.
After police got a tip that Borgwart's passport was used in Canada, they made contact with him in early November and received this proof of life video.
I'm in my apartment. I am safe, secure, no problem.
Authorities say Borgwart had used an inflatable boat to paddle off the lake, riding a stashed e-bike more than 70 miles to Madison, then hopping on a bus that took him through Detroit to Canada, where the sheriff says he got on a plane to Europe. In the lead up to the disappearance, the sheriff says Borgwart took out a life insurance policy, moved money to foreign banks, and even communicated with a woman in Uzbekistan.
On December 10th, Ryan arrived on U.S. soil.
Police say he flew home voluntarily on Tuesday after several phone conversations.
We brought a dad back on his own accord.
The sheriff's office not revealing where Borgwart was, if the woman he was talking to helped him plan the disappearance, or if he's been in touch with his family since returning.
All right, thanks to Morgan Chesky for that report. Well, right now, Borgwart is out on a $500 bail. If he's convicted, though, he could face up to 9 months in jail and a $10,000 fine.
Questions continue to mount over drones spotted in the sky over New Jersey and other states. Questions now being asked at the highest levels of government. The FBI is investigating, and now the Pentagon is weighing in on the mysterious drones, trying to get to the bottom of where they're coming from and if they pose a threat. NBC News Now anchor Gadi Schwartz has the latest.
In the skies above New Jersey, trying to get to the bottom of a mysterious wave of SUV-sized drone sightings that so far have proved impossible to identify or to stop.
The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. It's not an airplane.
Reports of mysterious drones and lights in the sky are growing. From over the warships of the West Coast to nuclear sites across the West to Langley, Virginia, and most recently to Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey. The Pentagon says there is no evidence the drones are coming from a foreign adversary, but lawmakers on Capitol Hill are demanding answers from the FBI.
I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights.
Those who have sent drones up to give chase, like local sheriff's departments, say they've never been able to see where they come from or where they land. Mine Hill Mayor Sam Morris chased this one down in his car and thinks the military should consider shooting them down. He says 11 drones have flown over a military site in New Jersey recently.
Those drones should have been blown out of the sky. Why are we putting up with this?
And as more people start to look up at the night sky, the FBI is asking anyone with credible video to send them in for analysis.
It's 2024. Are you telling me in this day and age somebody can fly drones of this size, the size of a car, if not bigger, and we have no idea who's doing it?
For now, yet another growing mystery in the sky. Gotti Schwartz, NBC News, Morristown, New Jersey.
Just such a fascinating one there, right? With the new year right around the corner, many of us are thinking about resolutions. It probably includes eating healthier in the new year.
To help with that, we're going to break down a new report released earlier this week. It comes from an outside panel of health and nutrition experts who provide advice to the government on what Americans should be eating.
Joining us now to make sense of these new dietary suggestions is Amy Goodson. She's a registered dietitian. Amy, always great to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, big takeaway from the report by the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee, it's to cut back on red meat and on processed foods. Walk us through that and what we should maybe be replacing those things with.
Yes, so the recommendations really came out to reduce red meat and kind of really overall animal proteins when it comes to things like chicken and eggs, and eating more beans, lentils, and different types of plant-based proteins, as well as reducing those ultra-processed foods that are typically going to lead to more chronic diseases. So one of the important things I always like people to understand is that when we talk about removing foods like animal proteins, there's often unintended negative nutrition consequences. So while we want people to eat more plants, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and lentils, we do want them to focus on consuming those high-quality proteins like eggs or a lean cut of red meat, poultry, because those are going to provide high-quality protein in addition to essential nutrients like iron, vitamin B12, and choline that are essential for overall health, growth, and development. So when we look at these dietary guidelines, I think from a nutrition perspective and a registered dietitian perspective, it doesn't always have to be this or that. It's how can we make better choices and then incorporate those nutrient-rich, colorful fruits, vegetables, whole grains, as well as healthy fats and low-fat dairy into the overall eating pattern.
So concerns over eating red meat, processed foods, those aren't new, but this emphasis on plant-based proteins from beans and lentils, is that a shift in thinking? Are we seeing an evolution here?
You know, a lot of people are looking at the more plant-based protein, and we do want people to eat more plants, right? Because they're going to have fiber and nutrients and antioxidants. One of the biggest challenges is really when we talk about the comparison of high-quality protein. So when we look at things like lean beef or eggs or chicken, we really are looking at high-quality protein and nutrients. When we look at beans and lentils and peas, while we should also be eating those, they are high in fiber and other nutrients. They're not as high quality of a source of protein. And when we talk about eating like 3 ounces of beef, that's going to have about 170 calories and 25 grams of protein. You have to eat about 3 cups of beans or lentils to get that same amount. And you're going to be getting more of 325 calories to like 385 calories. So again, not really this or that. We want you to eat beans and lentils, but incorporating those with a variety of nutrient-rich foods. And then, as you mentioned, cutting back on those ultra-processed foods. We know that they can really take up about 60% of the American diet, and they can lead to those negative health consequences like type 2 diabetes and other chronic diseases.
Amy, on that topic, though, the panel did stop short of issuing specific guidance when it comes to ultra-processed foods, also on alcohol consumption. Why wasn't that included in these guidelines, and do you have any recommendations as a dietitian on them?
It's interesting. So when it comes to ultra-processed foods, they said that there's really not enough evidence to make recommendations around them. However, we know that they are adding added sugar, sodium, and saturated fat, which is what the dietary guidelines recommend that we reduce. So taking out a lot of those convenience foods or just trying to reduce our intake of them is going to be important. Replacing them with whole grains that are going to have fiber, like whole grain crackers, oats, things of that nature. And then from an alcohol perspective, they did not make any dietary changes. So the recommendation stands with the American Heart Association and previous dietary guidelines: 1 drink a day for women, 2 drinks a day for men, noting that 1 drink is 5 ounces of wine or 12 ounces of beer. Focusing on moderation is going to be key there.
So these recommendations, I'm glad we can share them with everyone. Real quick here, what happens next now with these recommendations?
So there's a 60-day open panel where people can make public comment. There will be another meeting in January, and then these recommendations will really start to turn into what are going to be the dietary guidelines for Americans that we will see come out with the new administration later in 2025. But what I would tell you as an individual, focus on a nutrient-rich plate, make half of it colorful fruits and vegetables, a fourth of it high-quality protein like eggs, lean beef, and chicken, a fourth of it whole grains, add add in some low-fat dairy, drink plenty of water, and you really don't even have to wait for those dietary recommendations. You can start making those changes today.
All right, Amy Goodson, thank you very much. Good info.
Coming up, in demand, applications to refinance home loans are soaring as mortgage rates drop.
Yeah, when we come back, our friend and favorite financial guru, Caleb Silver, is here to walk us through the trends and what it all means for the housing market. This is Morning News Now.
Back now with a look at the housing market.
Yeah, mortgage rates dipped again last week, spurring a 27% increase in applications to refinance a home loan.
For more on what this means, we're joined on set by Investopedia editor-in-chief, friend of the show, Caleb Silver. This might seem like a silly question, but why are we seeing these mortgage these people wanting to change their mortgage rates right now? What's going on?
We had a lot of people who bought homes after 2002, and they were buying them when interest rates were really high, somewhere between 6 or 8%. So now the mortgage rates are dropping a little bit below about 6.3%. You're seeing this aggressive move to refinance. Now, these seem like big moves, 27% increase, but they're coming off of very small numbers. I feel like I've been here for the past year saying we're waiting for the housing market to thaw. As the Fed starts cutting rates, we're going to start to see that happen because mortgage rates typically follow the Fed funds rate. It really hasn't happened. Why? Because there's a little uncertainty about the economy, the tariffs that might be coming our way. Those are inflationary, and that will keep the yield on the 10-year, which is also very influential for mortgage rates, very high. That's why mortgage rates have been so high lately.
So at the meeting next week, that is?
That's in 6 days, 6 hours, and 15 minutes. I'm not counting, you're counting. They're going to lower rates a quarter point, but rates are still going to be pretty high, around 4.5%, the Fed funds rate. Mortgage rates, according to the National Association of Realtors, are going to be in the 6% range next year. So some people are desperate to buy. Some people really want to sell. There is some activity now. Anytime it gets below about 6.3%, you start to see the activity heat up. It's just not what we thought it would be. We thought rates would be well below 6%.
So I feel like if I were thinking of refinancing right now, I would see, well, there's more cuts to come. I would feel like I would want to wait a little bit. When is the best time to refinance? And also, if you're a first-time home buyer, when might be the best time to jump in?
Yeah, for refinancing, you got to be careful. Little drops are not going to help you because you actually have to pay transaction costs when you refinance. So sometimes it's not worth the money. You got to do the math and see when you're actually going to save money if you're refinancing. If you're a first-time buyer and you want that home, if you've been circling it for a while, 6.5%, 30-year fixed seems like a lot. It's not going to get a lot lower for a long time. So if you need to make the move, but be ready to close quickly. Have your paperwork approved, get pre-approved for that loan. Make sure you have enough cash on hand for the closing and all the fees that come with it.
For people who are like holding out for a serious drop or who are wondering, will it ever be how it was? What do you say to that?
They're going to be renting for a while because we're not going to get a serious drop for a while. We're in this really weird uncertainty period where we don't know how strong the economy is going to be next year because we don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. We don't know what's going to happen with deportations. Those could be inflationary. The economy is growing now, but is it going to be this strong next year? It's hard to say. So we shouldn't expect a big drop in mortgage rates. But if you're circling a home, if you've been very desperate to buy or sell, these could be the best times in the next few months because I don't see them dropping much further for quite a while.
All right. Caleb Silver, thank you so much.
Let's stay on Money News for you. Microsoft is taking an $800 million hit as GM peels out of the robo-taxi business.
CNBC's Savannah Hanau has that and some other money news. Savannah, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning to you. Yes, so a new regulatory filing shows Microsoft, as you mentioned, is about to take an $800 million charge from GM, shutting down its Cruise robo-taxi program. Now, GM pulled the operation this week, citing competition and the time and resources needed to scale the business. Microsoft acquired a minority stake in Cruise in 2021 and revealed in the filing the impairment charge in the second quarter of the fiscal year 2025 will have a negative impact of about 9 cents a share. Meanwhile, Android is making it easier to prevent stalking. Google will roll out 2 new updates to its unknown tracker feature, which in July 2023 started alerting Android owners if unfamiliar trackers were traveling with them. The first update will let phone users stop sending location updates to the Find My Device network for up to 24 hours. The second will help users physically find the unwanted tracker and then will give instructions on how to disable it. And Americans have a rosier financial outlook for the new year. That's according to a new Bankrate survey polled post-Election Day. 44% of people said they believe their personal financial situation will get better in 2025. Compare that to last year's survey when only 37% said the same thing. Millennials and Gen Z were more likely to say they expected to see improvement, guys.
All right, Silvana, thank you very much.
Got it.
Robots are wandering the streets of downtown Dallas. Don't worry, they're just delivering lunch, trying to meet the city's growing demand for food delivery. Reporter David Goins from our NBC affiliate there gives us a look.
If you don't hear it, you'll certainly see it rolling down a downtown sidewalk.
So we are looking at autonomous delivery robots.
Robots ready to feed you,
Place an order,
provided you use the Uber Eats app to order lunch from a downtown Dallas restaurant that's signed up with Austin-based AV Ride.
The robots are designed to take care about the so-called hyperlocal delivery.
And Yulia Shevchenko says, do it in a pretty pedestrian-savvy way. AV Ride's robots scoot along under 10 miles an hour, using 360-degree radius cameras to detect people and other potential obstacles, helping them navigate sidewalks, cross streets, even understand traffic lights. We watched AV Ride make their first Dallas deliveries Tuesday along Ackerd in Maine. Turns out, we weren't alone.
I think it's amazing, for sure.
Hamza Janjir, who told us he often carries his to-go orders, says the AV Ride robot stopped him in his tracks.
And that just caught me off guard. I just saw it from far away, like a block down, and I was like, this is actually amazing.
Texas approved autonomous delivery vehicles 5 years ago. While AV Ride is the first making downtown deliveries, at least 2 other companies have robot delivery presence in North Texas. Shevchenko says feedback from other cities AV Ride operates in or that people find the robots with their variety of facial displays, yes, cute.
These are probably like the cutest creatures on the sidewalks.
No one wants ugly robots.
No one, absolutely.
AV Ride says it plans to grow its robot fleet footprint into neighborhoods beyond downtown next year, but Tuesday marks its first step, rolling down the automated delivery path.
Our thanks to David Goins for that report. By the way, the company is not stopping at food delivery. They're also teaming up with Uber to try to develop a driverless taxi service.
All right, pretty cool. Coming up for some folks, it wouldn't be the holidays without it. So when one town's production of the Nutcracker almost didn't happen, the community pulled together for a Christmas miracle.
When we come back, we're going to take you to Michigan to find out how they saved the Christmas time classic. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now. Welcome back. It looks like the new 4-part Beatles biopic may have found its Sir Paul McCartney. And according to Gladiator 2 director Ridley Scott, it'll be a familiar face from that recent blockbuster, Ireland's own Paul Mescal. Scott confirmed the news during a conversation following a screening of the Gladiator sequel at the Directors Guild of America in L.A. earlier this week. While there's yet to be an official announcement from the studio, it's been rumored that Mescal is the top choice. This isn't the only big casting news uncovered about the new series focused on the Fab Four. Just last month, Ringo Starr himself revealed that Barry Keoghan would be playing, well, Ringo Starr. Wow. Oscar winner Sam Mendes will be lending his directing talents to each of the 4 films. Sadly, Beatles fans will have to wait a few more 8-day weeks because they aren't expected to be released until 2027. It takes time to produce not 1, but 4 biopics about 4 fascinating characters with deep history.
Yeah, and those are some of the hot stars of the moment playing
exactly.
them. It's pretty
and
cool.
We got more to come. So.
All right, love it. Thanks, Joe. Well, Eric LeGrand is a former college football player with an unbreakable spirit. A severe injury on the field sent him on a journey to create a foundation for spinal cord injury research. Today's Craig Melvin sat down with LeGrand to talk about his latest endeavor using bourbon to help raise awareness and money for a cause near and dear to his heart.
Waking up with a purpose and genuine every day with a smile on my face, knowing that I have so much to do and so many things, to take care of. I love that. That's just who I am.
Eric LeGrand is a beloved son, loyal friend, and entrepreneur who's moving through the world a little differently than he'd ever imagined. In 2010, he was a junior at Rutgers University, a star on the defensive line, when he made a life-changing tackle that sent him off the field on a stretcher.
What I've always admired about your story is when something like what happened to you happens to a lot of other people, that's kind of the end.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, it almost seems like it was a beginning.
I would say the first week or 2 weeks when I was in the hospital in Hackensack, I was on ventilators, I had neck brace on, feeding tubes coming out of me, and I didn't know where life was, but then you just saw the outpouring of support on a daily basis, and it continued to grow. I said to myself, I have a responsibility now. I can't let all these people down.
After a few years of intensive physical therapy, Eric created a new normal, traveling, giving motivational speeches, and and launching his nonprofit, Team LeGrand, alongside the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation in 2013.
They reached out from the very beginning saying, we want to offer our support, guidance, anything that you need in the spinal cord injury community. We're here for you. And I said to my mom, who's Christopher and Dana Reeve? She goes, are you kidding me? You don't know Superman? And I'm like, and I did my research on Christopher Reeve, the mega star that he was, and I reached right back out to the foundation. And since then, we've raised over $3 million now for spinal cord injury research.
Soon after, Eric kicked off his empire, starting a podcast and opening up LeGrand Coffee House.
My goal with that was to bring unity to the community with a daily cup of belief.
You've become quite the entrepreneur. When you opened your first business, what were some of the lessons that you picked up kind of quickly?
Like, you just think that, okay, if you got to do this, this, and this, and everything will work out perfectly, you check off the box. Well, what about when things start going wrong? The refrigerator breaks, or when the espresso machine is not working? And just still continue to power through.
Eric's newest venture in his beverage business, a favorite of mine, bourbon.
How does Eric get into the whiskey business?
It came a thought to me that, I travel all over the place and people see me have cocktails and they get surprised because somebody in a wheelchair is drinking. And I just kind of wanted to end that stigma that someone in a wheelchair with a disability can't enjoy the finer things of life. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start my own company.
How would you describe the Eric LeGrand bourbon?
First thing I had to do, I said something that has to be smooth, something that, has great taste, flavors to it, and something that the real bourbon nerds out there, the geeks, can respect.
To honor Eric's jersey at Rutgers, number 52, $5.20 of each sale goes to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation.
One of the things I've always enjoyed about food and bourbon, it brings people together. It unites. There's something communal about it.
It really is. You can have a glass of bourbon at the end of a long, hard day, or if you want to get together with some friends and you pour it over, on the rocks, and you just share stories as you're sitting there drinking a glass of bourbon, and one day have this be obviously throughout the country and then throughout the world. And when you and I, Craig, were no longer here, people can look at that shelf and can tell the Eric LeGrand story.
Craig Melvin, NBC News.
Finally this hour, it's as much a part of the holiday season as ice skating and hot chocolate. We're talking about the Nutcracker. Well, for one Michigan town, the curtain almost fell on their production before it even began. NBC reporter Maya Eaglin has the story of how one community came together to save that treasured tradition.
On to front and the close.
For these dancers in Canton, Michigan, the holiday season means showtime. More than 80 dancers performing the Nutcracker, marking the 40th anniversary production from the Plymouth Canton Ballet Company.
It is just a magical part of the holiday season.
Despite months of rehearsing, the curtain almost didn't go up.
The holiday spirit under fire after thieves stole a storage container.
This Ring camera video capturing the moment their trailer and thousands of dollars worth of props inside were stolen, sending the show scrambling to replace them. Community members stepping in, raising more than $18,000. As many parents got to work.
I built these clocks, and hopefully these last another 40.
Yeah. Another 40 years, but not another Grinch.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Finally, opening night.
What's the vibe? What's everyone feeling? Give me some words.
New props decorating the stage, along with the holiday spirit, now stronger than ever.
If no one had ever volunteered to help, then this show wouldn't happen.
It means the world. It's the Nutcracker family, and now it's become the community family that has come together to put this show on.
For a community that fought hard and worked together to keep a tradition alive. Maya Eaglin, NBC News, Canton, Michigan.
I bet it meant so much more to everyone to know that they actually had a hand in the various parts of it.
Oh my gosh, all the parents stepping in to help us, awesome. But Maya's right, what a Grinch, my God.
It's weird that stuff like that happens during the holidays every year. They probably opened the trailer and were like, well, I don't want any of this.
Yeah, you'd think, like, oops, man.
All right, that is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Don't go anywhere, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, an intelligence shakeup sending shockwaves throughout Washington weeks before Inauguration Day. FBI Director Christopher Wray is set to resign before the man who appointed him starts his second term. That'll make room for President-elect Trump's pick to helm the Bureau, Kash Patel. We're going to bring you the latest in just a moment. Confusion and frustration over those mysterious drones that are frightening folks in New Jersey. We're going to take you inside the fiery meeting on Capitol Hill between state and federal officials as answers to who or what may be behind the sightings continue to elude investigators. Plus, the Pentagon's swift and searing response to one New Jersey lawmaker's shaky claim that Iran might be involved. Also this morning, mounting evidence against accused CEO killer 26-year-old Luigi Mangione. More on the damning forensic breakthroughs that NYPD investigators say they found right here in Midtown Manhattan. Plus, Mangione's reported notebook writings on his alleged plan for deadly violence now coming to light. And later in the hour, we're digging into a critical new update from Apple. It's bringing the AI power of ChatGPT to the palm of your hand and beyond. These updates constantly giving us new glimpses into the future right now. All right, let's begin with Christopher Wray, the FBI director appointed by President-elect Donald Trump back in 2017, says he will step aside before Mr. Trump takes office next month.
Yeah, meanwhile, the president-elect's pick to replace him, that's Kash Patel. He's already courting support from Senate Republicans. NBC News chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander has the latest.
Good morning to you. For the last 7 years, Christopher Wray has overseen one of the most tumultuous periods in the FBI's history, with President-elect Trump making clear his dislike of both Wray and the bureau he leads. Still, there are no guarantees that Trump's provocative pick to replace Wray will be confirmed by the Senate, with real questions today about Kash Patel's qualifications to lead the nation's premier law enforcement agency.
This morning, President-elect Trump is celebrating Christopher Wray's resignation as FBI director, posting, "It's a great day for America as it will end what he calls the weaponization of the United States Department of Injustice." After Wray revealed to bureau employees he'll step aside before Trump takes office.
This is the best way to avoid dragging the bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing the values and principles that are so important in how we do our work.
Wray will leave with nearly 3 years left in his 10-year term, handpicked by Trump himself in 2017 after then-President Trump fired FBI Director James Comey. The president-elect has attacked the DOJ and FBI for years, arguing that he was unfairly prosecuted for political reasons, and slamming Wray in an interview with Kristen Welker over his role in the classified documents investigation.
I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done.
Trump also seized on Wray's testimony to Congress, saying there was some question whether a bullet grazed Trump's ear during an assassination attempt last July.
He said, "Oh, maybe it was shrapnel." Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so.
The FBI later confirmed Trump was struck by a bullet. Trump has already announced his choice to replace Wray, Kash Patel, meeting with Republican senators Wednesday.
We look forward to a very smooth transition at the FBI, and I'll be ready to go on day one.
A former federal prosecutor and controversial Trump ally, Patel has vowed to go after those he says unfairly targeted the president-elect, and recently made this provocative promise.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state.
NBC News has learned Patel told a top Republican senator this week that he will not do that. That's according to a Senate aide familiar with their conversation. And just this morning, we learned that President-elect Trump invited China's President Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration here next month. It's not clear whether Xi plans to attend. A Trump transition team spokesperson calls it an effort to create an open dialogue, not just with allies, but with adversaries and competitors as well. Back to you.
Peter, thank you very much.
We turn now to that ongoing mystery in the skies over New Jersey. Dozens of drones have been hovering over homes, businesses, and military bases for nearly a month now, and authorities still don't know who's responsible. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is in Mine Hill Township, New Jersey, with more. Sam, good morning.
Well, frustrations here are clearly mounting with no new information. The mayor of this township here in Mine Hill Township told us that he personally saw drones flying right over Town Hall recently. As for the FBI, that's the lead investigatory agency on this issue, but their congressional testimony earlier this week only fanned the flames of confusion as the Pentagon also slamming a claim from a local congressman that an Iranian mothership is behind it all.
There's another one.
For almost a month, swarms of drones the size of small cars have been spotted over parts of New Jersey, alarming local residents.
I look to my left and I see two big drones. They were propeller driven, going very slowly.
And unnerving lawmakers who say they popped up in at least 10 counties. The issue prompting a meeting Wednesday attended by roughly 100 mayors and state representatives.
Are you telling me that in America, somebody can start flying drones and we have no clue what's going on?
Garden state leaders say they're confounded by the federal government's response and that of their own governor, who's preaching calm.
The most important point to say is we don't see any concern for public safety.
According to New Jersey Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia, the drones are large, up to 6 feet in diameter. There have been sightings every night since November 18th from dusk to 11 p.m. The lights are usually turned off, making detection difficult, and most sightings are in unrestricted airspace. Perhaps even more concerning, military officials say they've documented at least 11 unauthorized drone incursions over nearby Picatinny Arsenal, a weapons development center. And President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Club is also in the area. All of it leading to hard questioning for the FBI on Capitol Hill.
What is going on in New Jersey?
We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that.
After one New Jersey congressman speculated this on Fox News.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones.
The Pentagon immediately knocking that theory down and saying there's no evidence of foreign influence.
There's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
Local police have been launching their own drones into the sky to give chase. So far, the mysterious drones continue to elude them. As for the question of how do we know that these drones don't pose a risk to the public, Governor Murphy here in New Jersey was asked that very question. He said after having high-level conversations with people from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, that was their analysis, and yet the FBI's assistant director struggled before Congress to answer that very question. Sam Brock, NBC News. Back to you.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, investigators are building their case against Luigi Mangione. That's the 26-year-old who's been charged with murdering UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Specifically, they are focusing on the alleged shooter's state of mind. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins us with the latest. Steph, good morning.
Luigi Mangione is being held in the maximum custody level of this prison, according to the Department of Corrections, while his defense attorney is getting ready to fight extradition. Meanwhile, the NYPD says the evidence against him is mounting.
This morning, the case against Luigi Mangione, the 26-year-old accused of murdering CEO Brian Thompson in Manhattan, appears to be getting stronger. NYPD investigators say they've made significant forensic breakthroughs on the gun found on the alleged killer when he was arrested in Pennsylvania.
We were able to match that gun to the 3 shell casings that we found in Midtown.
The police commissioner also says Mangione's fingerprints match those found on a water bottle and Kind bar wrapper found near the crime scene.
We've already got some powerful evidence for the prosecution.
According to 2 sources familiar with the investigation, in addition to 3 handwritten pages, Mangione also had a notebook with this written inside. What do? You whack the CEO at the annual parasitic bean counter convention. It's targeted, precise, and it doesn't risk innocence. Mangione's attorney says his client plans to plead not guilty to the charges. The murder of an executive at one of the largest private health insurers in the country has unleashed a torrent of anger at the industry. Yesterday, Senator Elizabeth Warren making headlines with these remarks.
Violence is never the answer, but you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
While authorities are warning of increased threats.
The impact is similar to that of a domestic terror attack. And that is already being reflected in this just torrent of online vitriol and the lionization of the alleged perpetrator. This one has all the hallmarks of something that is going to inspire and contribute to a contagion effect.
In New York City, fake wanted posters have appeared targeting other CEOs of health insurance companies. The head of United Health Group, the parent company of UnitedHealthcare, sending a message to its employees, calling Thompson one of the good guys and saying the company will take precautions to ensure employees feel safe and supported.
To fight extradition, Mangione will have to prove that New York prosecutors either have the wrong man or he was not in New York City at the time. And given the evidence that is mounting against him, legal experts say that is going to be a tough battle to win. Back to you.
All right, Steph, thank you.
On the West Coast this morning, firefighters in California are racing to contain a destructive wildfire in Malibu. The flames have burned more than 4,000 acres.
Yeah, the winds have started to shift and die down, which helps with containing wildfires, but thousands of residents are still under evacuation orders.
NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin is live in Malibu for us again. Dana, good morning. So just tell us, what are the weather conditions like right now? What are firefighters bracing for today?
Yeah, Joe, Savannah, good morning to you both. It's actually pretty chilly out here this morning. Those Santa Ana winds have definitely died down. And the good news is there's supposed to be that onshore breeze. So a lot of humidity will probably help firefighters in this effort. Right now, the fire has burned more than 4,000 acres. It is 7% contained. I know that sounds like a really small number, but in the fire world, that is a really good sign. No active flames at this moment, but firefighters say it could take several days for all the hot spots in the flames to be completely out, and they are still trying to determine a cause of this fire. Joe?
Dana, you've been on the ground for the last several days. I know you've spoken to a lot of residents who've evacuated, even some celebrities. Legendary actor Dick Van Dyke, for example. What did he tell you?
Oh, my God. He shared his harrowing story of survival, essentially, in this matter, because when the Franklin fire started, his home is in one of those canyons, and it came down really quickly. He's going to be 99 years old tomorrow, so he's still a little frail. He ran outside with a garden hose trying to fight some of the fire in the back of his yard. Well, that proved to be a little bit too much for him. He said at one point he was crawling until some neighbors came to his rescue. Listen.
Two neighbors came, picked me up, carried me out to the car. My wife was waiting, and got me out of here, or I wouldn't have done it. I don't think I would have made it. And they also came back, and my little guest house had started to flame up in the back. They put that out, so they saved my life and my fire.
They saved his life and his home, and he is crediting those three neighbors. And we've got some Ring camera video that shows him being helped out of his home. And he and his wife say they are just lucky that they survived, and now he's trying to get some much needed rest.
Oh, God.
He truly is a treasure. I was at his home many years ago, and the nicest man in the world, and so humble after a century of making history.
Dana, you guys look like best friends there. I love it.
Now, officials, have they given any indication?
You know, I feel like it. He was so awesome, like so generous with his time. He was really funny, too.
Yeah, he's amazing.
No surprise.
All right, any indication on when evacuation orders could be lifted? I mean, what's the main message to people who live in that area who might be eager to get home right now?
Yeah, you know, some people are super eager to get back, and the main message is to just be patient. Those evacuation orders are still in place. The roadblocks are still in place. But the good news is they could lift it at any moment. So they just remind people to follow social media and pay attention to those alerts, because they could lift it, and it'll likely be something that they send out, and that's when residents can come back in.
All right. Dana Griffin reporting from Malibu. Dana, thanks so much for your reporting throughout this week.
We have meteorologist Angie Lassman with us now to tell us the latest on all this.
Yeah, she's got the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning to you. And as Dana said, things are improving there. So let's go through a couple of the things that we've been dealing with. The really dry air. We had those really strong winds. Both of those things are going to improve. They already have in some spots, but throughout this region through the day today. So here's what's going on. We're going to see those winds coming off the water. That does a couple of things for us. It ushers in some of the more moist air, so the humidity levels will rise. That, of course, is a big improvement. And on top of that, we'll see these winds relax even more. Yesterday, we were in the 20s and 30s kind of range as far as our peak wind gusts. Today, it'll be the teens and maybe 20s across this area. So this means the fire threat is, of course, going to continue to lower when it comes to the weather conditions. Out east, we've got a busy kind of a couple of days here for the Great Lakes. Today, more so than tomorrow, but 11 million people right now under these winter alerts. So here's what's going on. We've got that really chilly air coming off the water. Once again, we know what happens with that. The lake effect snow machine turns on, and that's what you're going to see throughout this area today. We'll see some impressive snowfall rates, especially downwind of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. We could pick up maybe 2 to up to 3 inches of snow per hour, and this is something that we'll deal with through the day today. So when you do the math, some really substantial snowfall here in the picture, at least for 24 hours. Even tomorrow, we'll still see some lighter snow bands setting up in those same areas, but it's not going to be quite as robust and impressive as what we're going to deal with today. Beyond that, some milder conditions settle in. We actually see a temperature kind of roller coaster ride where we get milder highs back in place. So any moisture across this region will fall in the form of rain, and that looks to come by Sunday. But between now and tomorrow, we've got the chance to see again, substantial snowfall, 1 foot to maybe 1.5 feet, but in some of those higher localized amounts, maybe 2 feet, 2.5 feet. And of course, this area has been in and out of these lake effect snow bands for about a week and a half now. So some additional snow on top of that. Chilly air spilling into the northern portions of the Midwest. This is going to be something that you'll see and really feel, I should say, across this region through the day today. So temperatures right now, -7 for Minneapolis. You're feeling 24 degrees below zero. Bundling up is necessary in Green Bay, too. We've got 22 below zero for the wind chill. And even as far south as Kansas City, feeling like just 12 degrees at this hour. We're going to see a little bit of a warm up when it comes to those afternoon highs, but not much. Notice where we land for our high temperature today in somewhere like St. Paul, just 5 degrees. We've got 17 for Chicago. That is a high temperature today. We are not going to get any warmer than that. Even Columbus in the high 20s. New York City has been on a roller coaster ride as well. Not quite as chilly as what we're going to see in Chicago today, but still the high 30s, a lot different than where we were in the high 50s yesterday. 50 degrees on top of that for Atlanta, not quite as chilly, but below normal across this region. Looking ahead to tomorrow, the cold snap stays with us, but it's only temporary. So you're going to need those layers yet again for your Friday. Minneapolis, you see a high of 17. We've got 28 degrees in Cleveland. But look what happens by the time we get into the weekend. Things go from the mid-30s to the 50s by the time we get into Monday in New York City. We have 60s on tap for Norfolk. We've got high 50s by Monday in St. Louis. So keep the layers handy for today and tomorrow and the early part of the weekend, but you'll be able to peel some of those off by the time we get into our next work week. Out west, we've got things ramping up. It's going to be busy over the next couple of days. This next storm system slams into the coast there. This brings heavy rain, mountain snow, and some really substantial amounts. And this is going to be bringing also some really much needed rain across parts of Southern California. Yes, the winds have relaxed and come off the water. That helps us with that dry air that we saw in place over the past couple of days, guys. But we are running well below normal for rain in that region. So, of course, with the fire situation, it's some much needed rain on the way for our friends there.
They definitely need it.
Like it's been here on the East Coast.
Exactly.
Thank you. See you in a bit. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the Wisconsin dad accused of faking his own death while kayaking back in August and then fleeing the country. Well, he's once again on American soil and in custody. His shocking comments to investigators.
First, after the break, an American missing in Syria found alive. What he told NBC News about his months-long stint in prison. Next.
Welcome back. An American who was detained in Syria after crossing into the country on foot from Lebanon several months ago has been found. Travis Timmerman said he was on a pilgrimage to Damascus when he was caught. He said he was freed along with many other prisoners following the downfall of Syria's ousted leader Bashar al-Assad. NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley was one of the first journalists to speak with Timmerman. He joins us now from Damascus. Matt, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. So Travis Timmerman was reported missing in Missouri earlier this year. He was last seen in Budapest in May, and it was from there that he began his long, strange journey where he ended up in a Syrian prison for several months, one of the world's most notoriously cruel police states.
How long have you been in prison? His name is Travis, and he was found in Syria, a long way from his home in Missouri. He told me he had just been released from captivity. The Syrians who found him said he was walking barefoot down the road.
I crossed the mountain between Lebanon and Syria, and I was living in that mountain.
He was in the mountains for 3 days and nights without food before he was discovered by a Syrian border guard.
Damascus. My Lord took me to Damascus.
The Lord sent him, he said, on a pilgrimage to Damascus. Travis seemed remarkably relaxed amidst the scrum of reporters firing questions at him. When asked if he wanted to speak to his family, he said no, and that he was up for taking more questions from reporters.
No, I'm okay for right now. Okay.
And he was quite calm, describing the months of captivity he endured at the hands of one of the world's most notoriously cruel regimes. In the chaos of Syria's collapse, families both there and across the world have waited desperately to see who emerges from those dangerous prisons. This morning, we witnessed the U.S. Special Envoy for Hostage Affairs calling Travis during the aftermath of his rescue. And it comes as the United States is scrambling to find more information about Americans in Syria, including imprisoned journalist Austin Tice, whose family has hope he's alive.
And you know, guys, Travis was remarkably calm about his whole ordeal. He told me he was well treated and well fed, but his experience is highly unusual. Many people who have endured Syrian prison terms have had to deal with torture and executions. Savannah?
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Turning back now to the Trump transition, we're learning new details about the president-elect's plans to carry out what he says will be the largest deportation operation in American history.
Sources exclusive told NBC News Trump is considering a policy change that will boost the power of immigration and customs enforcement agents to arrest migrants across the country. They say he plans to scrap a long-standing policy. It prevents agents from arresting immigrants at so-called sensitive locations. Think churches, schools, hospitals. The sources who spoke on condition of anonymity say the president-elect could rescind the policy as soon as his first day in office.
NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins us now with more on her exclusive reporting. Julia, good morning. So it might be hard to imagine these arrests happening at places like a funeral or at a wedding, but that could be the reality, according to your sources. I mean, tell us more about this potential policy change.
Yeah, that's right. This is all from a memo that began in 2011 under the Obama administration that ruled out some of these locations, including events like weddings, funerals, or rallies, where ICE was not supposed to make arrests unless they got permission from a supervisor. And even in that case, they had to prove it was a matter of national security or public safety to make an arrest in one of those locations. And so that's become the norm. Even under the first Trump administration, those rules were largely kept in place. The Biden administration even expanded that a bit to go further to say it even includes places of religious studies, not just houses of worship, mental health institutions, etc. But really, that has been the rule for over a decade now, that ICE wants to avoid places like that so that people can get health care. They can send their children to school without the fear of arrest and deportation.
Julia, you just kind of explained what this policy was, but can you tell us why traditionally arrests in these types of locations have not been allowed?
Yeah, it was been put very well by Legal Learned, who's a lawyer for the ACLU, who very well could be suing the future Trump administration, as he did previously, if this comes to a lawsuit over these kind of things. But he said that you shouldn't have policies in place that would keep someone, say, with a contagious disease from getting health care at a hospital, or keep people from educating their children, so that you would have a large population of people where there are children not in school during the day. That these were policies meant to ensure public safety, community involvement, and to allow nonviolent immigrants to be able to be integrated in their community. And by and large, what he's found and what other immigration advocacy groups have found is that when you force these populations to go underground, to live in a place where they're scared to come out and go about their daily lives because they might be arrested and deported, that actually leads to more dangers from a public health perspective, from a community perspective, and really doesn't set anyone up for success. That's their argument. ICE, however, and the future Trump administration, I should say, people who may be part of the future Trump administration, ICE is divided on this, think that this will be a way that they can boost their numbers. They don't want anything holding them back when they carry out these mass deportation efforts. Savannah.
Julia, I know you've been speaking with church leaders, with former immigration officials. What's some of the reaction you're hearing?
Well, churches say that they've already been worried about threats, that they have historically, many of them, been sanctuaries for migrants because they knew about policies like these, and that they want people to be able to come there and have sanctuary. But because of the rhetoric, because of how things have changed regarding the conversation on immigration in this country, they've already been worried about taking in migrants because they think their safety may be in danger because of those threats. Healthcare providers are worried that they won't be able to deal with some really emergency situations from migrants who might need their care.
All right, Julia, thank you so much.
Great reporting, as always. Let's get to international headlines now. Let's start with major developments on the political crisis in South Korea.
NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins us with that and some more world news. Danielle, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. That's right. Let's begin in South Korea, where President Yoon is vowing to fight till the end. In a televised speech today, Yoon Suk-yeol, a conservative, said he enacted martial law back on December 3rd, as a warning to the opposing Liberal Democratic Party, which he called a monster with anti-state forces. He said his decision was an act of governance and denied rebellion charges. There have been attempts to impeach the president. In fact, just today, 6 opposition parties submitted a new motion to impeach him, saying his speech was an expression of extreme delusion. To Italy now, and a remarkable story of survival, you guys. An 11-year-old girl was rescued after 3 days of being stranded at sea. A shipwreck is believed to have killed the remaining passengers on the vessel, which had set off from Tunisia. This happened in the middle of the night near the Italian island of Lampedusa in the Mediterranean. Rescue workers said it was an incredible coincidence that they heard the child's voice despite the engine running. And finally, what a journey. A humpback whale has stunned scientists after traveling 8,000 miles across 3 oceans. The reason behind this is this very, very long migration route is still unclear, but experts say it could be linked to a shift in the way the whales mate. Climate change could also be a factor as it affects ocean conditions and depleting stocks of food. The whale was first photographed in 2013 near Colombia in South America, then in 2022 off the coast of Zanzibar in East Africa, half a world away. Guys, back to you.
The whale actually has a travel book coming out next year, so we'll learn more about its adventures then.
Danielle, thank you.
The Wisconsin dad accused of faking his own death and fleeing the country is back in the U.S. He made his first court appearance yesterday facing misdemeanor charges. He allegedly told investigators, quote, the whole idea was to sell the death. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is the latest on the case. Maggie, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning. Yeah, Ryan Borgwart returning from Eastern Europe voluntarily to face justice and possible jail time, investigators say, after sparking a frantic search back in August, all for authorities to discover he was alive and well. Now a criminal complaint painting a clearer picture of a deliberate attempt to seemingly trick authorities and his own family.
This morning, Ryan Borgwart, the Wisconsin man accused of faking his own drowning death and fleeing to Europe, now back in the U.S. and facing a misdemeanor charge of obstructing an officer. The judge entering a not guilty plea on his behalf.
He has come back, apparently halfway around the world, voluntarily turned himself in.
Authorities stressing the 45-year-old husband and father returned willingly.
Has he said what compelled him to come back to Wisconsin?
His family, I guess.
Officials say Borgwart's carefully plotted escape began on August 11th around 10 p.m. when he pushed off in a kayak into Wisconsin's Green Lake, later telling investigators everything hinged on me dying in the lake. According to the criminal complaint, he flipped his kayak and swam to shore, taking off on an e-bike he'd stashed nearby and riding to a bus station in Madison where he boarded a Greyhound to Toronto, Canada. From there, flights to Paris, then Asia, where the complaint states a woman he'd been corresponding with brought him to a hotel. Later hunkered down in the country of Georgia, the complaint says Borgwart read headlines about his own disappearance until November 8th, when he received an email from investigators and said his heart hit the floor. Authorities saying they'd searched his laptop, discovered inquiries about moving funds to foreign banks and a new $375,000 life insurance policy for his family. Days later, releasing this proof of life video.
I'm in my apartment. I am safe, secure, no problem.
Still tight-lipped about Borgwart's exact motive, the sheriff's department now seeking up to $40,000 in restitution to cover the cost of their initial frantic search.
I cannot imagine what these kids are going through. And that was what really drove us.
And authorities confirming Borgwart posted bond overnight and was released. He faces up to 9 months in jail if convicted on that misdemeanor charge. He told the judge, for what it's worth, yesterday that he can't afford an attorney and therefore will defend himself. The judge reminding him he has the right to a public defender. But again, all that as authorities say they're going to seek tens of thousands of dollars in restitution. Meanwhile, for what it's worth, NBC News reached out to Borgwart's family and his wife, Jo, declined to comment.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Coming up, we are talking Time's 2024 Person of the Year.
Yeah, and for the second time, its editors have landed on Donald Trump. But what exactly goes into such a big decision? Who are some of the other big names he beat out? We are talking to Time's editor-in-chief. That's up next. Stay with us. We are back with this morning's big announcement from Time. It has selected President-elect Donald Trump as its 2024 Person of the Year.
Editors at Time magazine have been picking the Person of the Year for nearly a century, and the person chosen is someone who, for better or worse, has made the most significant impact on the world and the headlines in that year.
For more on this year's decision, we have Time Editor-in-Chief Sam Jacobs. He is here in studio with us. Sam, good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on this being out. Thank you very much for joining us live today. Let's talk about Mr. Trump. It's actually his second time being selected. The last time back in 2016. Explain to us just generally, the big top line, why he's the most impactful person of 2024.
I think it's hard to argue that anyone had more impact on the news, for better or for worse, more role in changing our headlines than Donald Trump did in 2024. This is someone who reshaped the American presidency, reordered our politics, and has really changed how we think about who America is and what our values are.
How much debate was there over this decision? Explain sort of the process, how you get to the short list and how you get to the answer. And was it divisive, much like the country's divided? Was it divisive when you guys were deciding?
We get together every fall and try to figure out what are the stories that are really animating the news each year and who are the individuals who are sitting at the center of those stories. Some years it's really hard. Some years there's a ton of debate. And some years it's quite clear that certain individuals are rising above the top. I think this is a year where it was very clear to us that Donald Trump was the right choice.
I think every year, I'm sure y'all deal with a lot of people who disagree with the choice, whether that be that they are just not a fan of the person or for whatever reason they think that they actually didn't have the most impact. What do you say to those people? And whether it's the president-elect, whether it's Taylor Swift, how do you handle that?
I love that this is a moment in time when we can stop and assess what happened in the previous 12 months. And I love that there's debate about it. I think it has everyone thinking, well, who is the person in their own life? Who's the person in the news who had the most influence on what happened? So it doesn't bother me at all if people want to debate whether they like the person, whether they don't. That's not the issue. This is a question of influence. And I think last year we had Taylor Swift, and I sat here and explained to you why she was the most influential person in 2023. I'm happy to talk about why it's clear to us that Donald Trump is the most influential person in 2024.
To be clear, you don't consider this an award or an honor. How do you describe it?
It's a recognition. This is a way for us to recognize one person who we feel like had the greatest impact on our news and on our world.
It's no secret that I'm a big Swiftie, so last year I was fascinated that you were, in Taylor Swift's apartment to do this interview with her. This year you had kind of this inside look at Mar-a-Lago on private planes. Tell us about the process of putting together what really just becomes this sort of epic, long profile on whoever gets this recognition.
I don't think there's any news organization in the world that has spent more time on the record with President-elect Trump this year than Time. Our reporter Eric Cordelessa and his editors spent time with the President-elect at Mar-a-Lago in March. We were back there together Thanksgiving week to interview him. Eric's talked to Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, Susie Wiles, all the campaign aides around President-elect Trump. And really, we've created a 360 picture of what this year was like for them. And also, importantly, in our conversation, what next year will look like from the White House.
To be clear, this is pretty important to him, isn't it? He has long talked about this. He sees it, I think, as an honor in many ways, doesn't he?
I can't speak for President-elect Trump. I know he's long had a fascination with Time. We're pleased that he sees the value of our journalism and our work.
What do you think was the most surprising maybe that you saw or learned from behind the scenes, either just kind of anecdotally about the president-elect or maybe something that really did potentially have an impact on the campaign?
We found him to be, in person, more subdued in November than he was in the spring. He seemed in a moment of reflection, a moment of pause. He said to us, it's actually sad that this campaign is over. This is someone who clearly revels being at rallies among supporters and wants to be in a fight. And it's really a curious moment for him where his work is just beginning. But for him, there's clearly a sense that a chapter has ended in his life. This is the last campaign. And what does that mean for him?
Are you able to say, was there a second place? Was there anyone up who was even close to being considered?
I think we shared our short list with the Today Show and our shorter short list with you all this week on Wednesday. There are incredible people who had influence over the news, different sectors, different areas. But, this was our decision for who made sense as Person of the Year.
Sam, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is out now, Time's Person of the Year issue. It's live on time.com, and then you can get those hard copies on newsstands starting next Friday. Sam, we always appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
Coming up, Apple of My AI.
Yeah, after the break, we're going to dig deeper into a major new update for Apple products. It's bringing the power of OpenAI's ChatGPT right to Siri. We're going to show you how it works next.
We're back with some financial headlines. Get this, including the National Labor Relations Board actually classifying contestants on Netflix's Love is Blind as employees.
The government is not blind. CNBC's Savannah Henao has that and some other money news. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Savannah. Yeah, the National Labor Relations Board says cast members of Netflix hit reality TV show Love is Blind should be considered employees and therefore eligible for certain federal protections. The agency issued a complaint last night saying the show committed several labor violations, including setting illegal contracts related to confidentiality and non-compete provisions. The New York Times first reported the complaint. The board opened an investigation into the production companies behind the show after two former participants submitted complaints. The case could pave the way for the cast to unionize and is likely to have broader implications for the entire reality TV industry. Well, it may be a little harder to start your day off with a donut today. Krispy Kreme said in a recent SEC filing, its online ordering and delivery has been disrupted in some areas by a cyber attack. According to the filing, Krispy Kreme first discovered unauthorized activity on a portion of its IT systems back on November 29th. The donut chain has a message about the issue on its website, which says it is taking steps to investigate, contain, and fix the issue with the help of leading cybersecurity experts and other advisors. And Elon Musk is reportedly the first person to ever reach a $400 billion net worth. Now, that's according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Bloomberg says his fortune has increased 77% since the November election, in which he was a vocal backer of the now president-elect Donald Trump. Musk was already the world's richest person, but now his net worth is more than Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates combined, guys.
Wow. All right.
Combined.
Yeah, that is something. Silvana, thank you.
Yeah.
Apple's newest iOS update is revamping its artificial intelligence offering.
One of the biggest changes sees Apple integrate OpenAI's ChatGPT with its virtual assistant Siri.
Here to talk more about this, NBC News personal technology analyst and columnist for the Wall Street Journal, Joanna Stern. Joanna, good to have you with us. So we knew this would be sort of a gradual rollout once we first heard about Apple Intelligence. Walk us through what this integration of ChatGPT means, how it's expected to work with Siri. What are some examples of new things users could be able to do?
Yeah, so yesterday iOS 18.2 came out, and I want to be clear here. Everyone with an iPhone, or most iPhones, got iOS 18.2, but only if you have an iPhone 15 Pro or iPhone 16, one of the iPhone 16 models released this year, will you get these artificial intelligence tools I'm about to talk about. So it's a bummer if you've got an older phone, and now the question is, are these tools going to convince you to go buy a new iPhone? That's what Apple's hoping. And so, yes, there's deep integration with ChatGPT, OpenAI's ChatGPT, throughout the operating system. The big one is Siri. If you ask Siri some questions and Siri's stumped, which, you know, is a lot of the time, it will go and ask you, can I ask ChatGPT this question? You can ask it to rewrite things. You can ask it to write things. And we can talk about my favorite thing, which is called Genmoji. This doesn't have anything to do with ChatGPT, but you can put in whatever phrase, I mean, not whatever phrase, but lots of different phrases and get an emoji of your dreams.
Yes, we just saw some pictures of that shrimp with the cowboy hat. Hilarious. Everybody loves an emoji, and it's fun to talk about some of the fun stuff. Joanna, are there any concerns for people who have been reticent to even use ChatGPT, maybe don't know a lot about AI, and it's kind of like, I don't know if I want this on my phone? Are there any concerns?
Well, so Apple has been very clear and careful with this. You do not have to turn on what they call Apple Intelligence, which is their suite of AI tools. In fact, when you get this new operating system update, it will ask you if you want to opt into using Apple Intelligence entirely. And then it takes that extra step. If it's going to ask ChatGPT something, it gives you a pop-up that says, do you want to use ChatGPT here? So you absolutely do not have to use any of this. If you want to use this, as I mentioned, you need to really have one of these newer phones.
You mentioned this question of will it translate to more sales? What do investors and analysts think? Do they think it's going to lead to more sales? I mean, what ultimately is the goal of this?
Well, investors and analysts really wanted this to lead to more sales, especially when the iPhone was announced in September. They said this was going to start an iPhone super cycle, which is when everyone goes out and upgrades. That is just not what's happened. But what this has done is add new features like Apple does every year for people who do need to upgrade. And most people do go out and upgrade every few years. They want to have something new, or their old phone is broke, or there's a good and compelling trade-in deal. And so these just give you some extra things. And what I said in my review of this new operating system is, well, this is finally the iPhone 16 we were promised. This is what they talked about on stage in September. Now it's finally here just a few months later.
All right. Joanna Stern, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Fascinating stuff. Sign of the times. Well, this morning, the college football world is welcoming the arrival of perhaps the greatest professional football coach of all time.
Yeah, legendary former New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick is set to go back to school as the head coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heels.
For more, we are joined by Chris Bumbaka. He's an NFL reporter for USA Today. Chris, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So Belichick, he's 72 years old. He's never coached a college team. Walk us through how this came together and what we just can kind of infer about why he'd want to do this at this point.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on. I think this is something that I've been thinking about for almost a week now, and I've really had to rack my brain of why, right? And I think, to me, it's sentimentality over ambition. He is 14 wins shy of Don Shula's NFL record for most wins by a head coach, 347. 1 or 2 more seasons in the NFL, he gets there. But to me, this is him saying, you know what, NFL, if you're not going to give me complete control of a team, if you don't trust me, the greatest coach of all time, to come into your franchise, fix it, build it up into a winner, then I don't want anything to do with you. Owners, you blew your shot. I'm going to the college game because all I care about is teaching the next generation, winning, and being around my sons on my coaching staff again. So that's what I think won out here. And the NFL didn't want to find out what a Bill Belichick-led team looked like in 2025. The North Carolina does not care because it's Bill Belichick coaching the Tar Heels in 2025.
Let's talk more about his resume. 6 Super Bowl wins, second winningest coach in NFL history. He's 3-time coach of the year at the pro level. The accolades go on and on and on and on, obviously. But then you look at UNC, which when we think of UNC, we think basketball, not necessarily football. I mean, what kind of impact could he have there?
Yeah, and there's reporting that because of this name, image, and likeness funding at UNC is obviously very closely associated with Michael Jordan, Nike, and the Jordan brand. So there are dollars available there, right? And UNC football has always been kind of seen as this sleeping giant in the industry because of the athletic infrastructure that's in place at the school. Now, Belichick obviously saw that as a perk of why he would want to take this job. And there's reporting that the NIL funding is going to go from $4 million this past year to $20 million in future years in regards to the football program. That's obviously something that Bill Belichick can work with and build this kind of pro-style program that he envisioned and must have pitched to university leaders to secure this job.
What is Belichick saying about the announcement?
He's just released a short statement saying that he's excited to be there. I think his most insightful comments came on Monday during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. And that's where he kind of talked about what a college program coached by him would look like. He was saying how there would be a pipeline to the NFL for players to obviously play at that next level. The nutrition, the strength and conditioning aspects would all be professional grade. But at this point, college programs and NFL organizations are run pretty similarly in that respect. And even now, as more money has come into the NCAA level, you have programs being structured like teams where there are front offices, there are people managing the roster and the salary cap to take those duties off of the coaching staff so they can focus on the on-field product. It'll be interesting to see how Belichick splits all that up. And I think he's already made his first hire by bringing in a longtime assistant from New England, Mike Lombardi, to be his GM with the Tar Heels. And he'll continue to build it out that way.
Yeah, I mean, because of NIL, obviously his pro experience could come in handy, but could there be some downsides? I mean, does he truly know what he's getting into here?
Yeah, and this is something that I should have mentioned. There is still a tremendous difference when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds and their parents and their guardians and their high school coaches versus a professional, right? Somebody who has been drafted, who has selected this path for them in life on their own in a way. But Belichick also mentioned that in college, when you're going high school to college, the player picks the school, right? When you're going college to the NFL, the team picks the player. So that's definitely a dynamic he's going to have to consider as he enters this next phase. And it'll be really interesting to watch because he's going to have to, I think, change a little bit about how he goes about his business.
Yeah. Chris Boombach, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much.
Coming up, you could call it a real reason for the season.
After the break, we'll introduce you to the Rhode Island teen who's lighting up his neighborhood, all for a good cause. Next on Morning News Now. We are back, and congratulations are in order for Selena Gomez and her now fiancé, Benny Blanco. That's right. It looks like the two just can't get enough of each other. The singer and actress announced her engagement to the music producer on Instagram last night with pictures of her gorgeous new rock and the caption, "Forever Begins Now." Several of Gomez's celebrity friends commented their congratulations, including her longtime friend, superstar Taylor Swift. She shared her excitement by giving herself a role in the upcoming nuptials, writing in the comments, quote, "Yes, I will be the flower girl." We are so excited for them. Love it.
She is just on fire right now. Good
she
for
really
her.
is, yeah.
Congrats. All right. Finally this hour, you probably heard the saying, go big or go home. Well, how about going big at home? One Rhode Island teen is doing just that by decking his lawn with huge inflatables for the holidays. Sam Reed from our NBC News Rhode Island affiliate explains that, well, the display may be gigantic. It's the meaning that is truly monumental.
Off Erin Drive in Wakefield, 16-year-old Jeffrey Hill is making sure his Christmas display is just right. His front lawn is filled with blow-ups of all kinds and colors.
I think around 50 or 60.
And it's not just the front that he's decorating. It's the side of the house, the back, and all along the road, too. What started out a few years ago as only a few decorations has turned into an all-out passion project.
Just felt extra Christmassy that year, and then still really Christmassy.
And getting into that spirit was something he needed right around the holidays.
It was like a hard time in my life because a lot of my family had passed away, so I decided to just have something that would make me happy, and this was it.
One of those people, his friend and former classmate, Lily Galoob.
She was like the nicest person, and it was a shock to really everybody.
Unfortunately, she passed away unexpectedly. So he channeled his grief into something great with this display, calling it Lights for Lily.
The purpose really is to raise money for the Lily Galoob Scholarship.
A box on top of his mailbox accepts donations. Money raised goes to a scholarship in her name. Last year, $1,300 was raised. Her family ever appreciative of his efforts to keep her memory alive.
Her mom came down to help last year and help this year. She absolutely loves it. She loves that I do it because it's something that kind of keeps her going, and it still gives her a purpose now.
The same can be said for Jeffrey, who is proud of all of the effort and hours he's put into this. He, too, gets a lot in return.
Just seeing it up and seeing all of, the happy people, especially, Miss Galoob, it's, you can't put it into words.
The decorations will stay up through the beginning of January. He's hoping the beautiful display in memory of a beautiful girl will bring joy to people passing by.
I want to keep the happiness going, honestly. Just for, Lily, for me, for, the whole town, everybody.
Showing you something good. I'm Sam Reed.
Good for him.
Love it. Happy holidays.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.